on. We're on. We're on. We're on. We're on. Hey, just got a little technical. Okay. Anyway,
Yeah.
got someone already looking already. Little technical difficulties, but we are here. We are here. We are here. We are
Horton.
here. Horton.
Horton hears a hoop.
Heard of who?
Yes.
And I said who? Okay, talk to us and tell us what's going on.
Well, the first thing that's going on is we have that new opening, and it is
Mhm.
amazing. I love it.
Did you like that opening?
Oh my gosh!
Are
I
you
loved
sure you
it.
like that opening?
Loved it.
Well,
Loved
I
it.
must have.
Loved
No one
it.
else saw the opening. What do you think?
No one else saw the.
Should we play the opening again real
No.
quickly? You don't want to play it real quickly?
No.
Oh man, it's that the person took the time, was a young lady who took her time on this particular opening or intro. I think she did such a fantastic
did.
job. Added the music we asked. I think it was very good. I think we should
think so,
show it
too.
again. Why isn't it you don't think we should show it again? Give me a good
Because we
reason.
only have an hour.
We got plenty of time. Plenty of time. I'm going to show it again. I'm so proud of what she did. I'm going to show it again. So here it goes. Oh, I was in it again. I was beaten to the music in the background, so that had a lot to do with it. That just took the show to another level. What do you think?
Yes, I agree.
Oh
I
yeah,
agree.
it certainly did take it to another level.
That's,
We
that's
really
nice, and it kind of puts you in the mood for something upbeat and something exciting, and then you've got the pictures and all
well,
that
the
stuff.
relationships that are healthy, the relationships that are thriving, they usually operate in an upbeat way,
Exactly.
positive way.
Yes. So that works
Yeah.
very well.
It is
Very
it is.
well.
So we're looking up. You like looking up, or do you want to look straight ahead when it comes to us? Well, or it's up to you.
This is fine
good?
because
Okay, just
I'm
you
going
keep on
to
looking
end
up.
up
Looking straight ahead.
turning your way anyway because I have a
So,
tendency to do
what
that.
is the name of our show, and who are we?
I am Sharon.
Mm-hmm.
You are Craig,
Uh-huh.
and we are taking the journey together.
Wow. And yes, we are. Yes, we are. So
And what a journey it is.
it is. What is our usual motto that we have with the journeys that we take?
Okay, at taking the journey together, we like to say we are going to relate. It doesn't matter what our mother, father, sister, brother, anybody says, we are going to relate.
Mm-hmm.
But at taking the journey together, we try to instill in people the desire to relate in a balanced way.
Balanced way.
See, I'm
Okay.
changing it a little bit, and so I had to stop and think about it.
Okay.
And by that balanced way, when we say that, we mean not having to choose between your friend or your lover to marry, but the person that you get interested in, form a friendship, build that friendship into a lovership, and then you get married to that person, and you have your friend and your lover all in the same package.
And I want to paraphrase this or put amendment onto it. We know today the commitment of a long-term relationship. That's what we usually try to focus on. You figure if you're going to do this, you might as well do it in the long run. Okay. It doesn't necessarily mean it's of what you call through the system or through this particular, country married, the license that comes along with the tax breaks that come along with it. I mean, your ability to make a commitment between you and the other person, and of course, underneath and what connected is to your God or your religious belief system is really up to you. The society doesn't have to be the one that gives you the right to have a relationship with that person. Hey, just as much as you can't really tell someone else who to love or how to love when it comes to the relationship, that's the same thing when you move to that commitment or to that place you say, hey, let's get married. Let's make this more than one. I'm open and let people know about it. We're committed.
Well, let's have a committed relationship for the long run.
Exactly. So you have a lot of people who are in a partner relationship, committed relationship, but they're not necessarily what they call officially married.
Yeah.
So
they don't have They don't have the government paper.
Exactly. So we're just talking about relationships, really,
Yes.
specific long-term
Yes.
relationships, and the
Either way,
need.
it has to be. It should start with a friend.
Exactly. Exactly. Should
Mhm.
definitely start with a friend. So where were we before when we were talking about all this? Hey, make sure you share alike, share it to your friends, share it to your partner, share it to your enemies too. Anyway, so make sure
Yeah.
you share today so other people can get on here and get some information to help build your relationship, upgrade your relationship, or just as one pastor told me, put it in the deep freezer so you could take it with you because one day you may have to pull it out.
There you go.
Or basically relationship, I would say most relationship, what, not counselors but more what,
Coaches.
coaches.
Yes.
Yeah, relationship
Yes.
coaches. So we're just coaching you about
Mhm.
some things you can do and how you can be, and our own experience when it comes to relating. We've been relating in a relationship for what, how long?
Us.
Yeah. I caught you off guard. I don't know where
No,
you were.
12, 12, 12 years.
Was that a problem
We're,
when I
no,
said
we're
that and
moving
you were
on to
confident?
13. No, I've had this thing in my throat all day, and I
Okay.
don't know what that is.
Okay.
It's probably the weather keeps changing back and forth and
Okay.
stuff. But yeah, we're moving into year number 13 being together,
Mm-hmm.
and year number 9 being married.
Usually the role model is that the woman or the female remembers the time that they've been together in a relationship. And so when you stuttered like that, I'm like, oh, you just blew the role.
Oh no.
But once you got going, you did all the details, hands and fingers and everything up there,
Yeah.
just giving all the details that we need or we should know about. Ain't that right?
Oh yeah. No, I have it all here. It was just
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, and that's why I've got my hot lemon water here because my throat is just real.
I'm trying to move over my hot button here. Just
Yes,
see
that's the
that.
thing.
Yeah. I don't know. Let me take this off of here. Think we'll talk later on about the fact that we have our hot buttons on. I don't know how that's still up there. What is that thing, engineer? That's still up there. Our name's still up there for some reason. I don't know what that is. Well, how's that still?
Anyway,
It's
here,
blocked us.
let's see.
But anyway,
I can move this way.
oh, there you go.
There we go.
Got a hot. There's a hot button. I told you folks we were going to have a hot button real soon, and turn with that hot button. We are going to make sure you get a chance later on to know that you could wear this hot button proudly and let other people know about how you feel good about your relationship and that you feel that your relationship is operating as friends and it's operating in a hot way. So in other words, when people see your button, you go, yeah, I got a hot relationship and I'm hot too.
There you go.
Yeah, definitely.
And we also want to say Happy Black History Month.
Yes.
Yes, and we should be happy because we get to celebrate us and our accomplishments and our love and everything about us, all the good, the bad, the
And the ugly.
indifference.
Well, it's
But
American history.
yes,
Okay, we're part of America. We've been in America. Our ancestors helped build this country, so it's American history at the same time too. So that's a very good thing. Hey, our relationships have to have, even in this time and beyond this time, we have to have that self love, that ability. I'm gonna take my button, put it on the other side. My the ability. How far do you put it up? Right here.
yeah, that's good. You need some help with that.
I think I got it. Okay, there it is. To have the ability to what am I trying to say? I have to put the button on.
Well, I don't know because you didn't get far enough for me to.
I was just testing you. I was testing to see if you knew what our topic was, so that
Yes, our
they
topic
could
is
hear what the
self-love.
topic is. Yes,
Yes.
exactly. So in this particular case, what we're trying to refer to them or say to them is that they need to again move on in our new topic called self-love.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. And and I am really excited at the way things are going as we have ourselves
Mm-hmm.
been focusing on self-love. And as we focus on self-love and how that just pours out into each other,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like it has taken our relationship even to another level.
Exactly. especially after that. I mean, it's on the job. It's on the job training
Yes.
when you are relating to someone the first time anyway. Even though relationship wise, this is second time around for us. Married 16 years myself. She was married for 30, but this is the first time around with being with her and her being with me. So it's all new. It's all new,
Absolutely.
boo.
Yes. And that's the other thing that a
Hmm.
lot of people do that they shouldn't do
Hmm.
is, oh, I've done this before, and so I'm going to expect you to do the same thing that the other one did, and even if it's two, three, or four of them. Well, obviously there was something about the other one that you didn't like, so you're not going to get that in the new one, or you're not going to look for that in the new one. So don't treat them the same.
Exactly, exactly. And I think that what happens is we took probably the first relationship, the other person for granted, and taking them for granted, we kind of carry that same baggage to the
Hmm.
other person,
Yes.
and said you're going to act the same way. You should act the same way. And then you got the cultural conditioning that also molds us to say that we're supposed to act a certain way. We're supposed to be a certain way. You know what I'm talking about with that.
Oh yeah.
And you end up with the same kind of problem.
Exactly, because nothing has changed. And nine
Hmm.
times out of 10, well, you have to look at the fact of how healthy and how thriving was that relationship that you were in before.
Hmm.
And if it wasn't healthy or thriving and you were trying to get into one, you need to start looking at what some of the issues were. I don't want to say problems, but there were definitely issues. It might have been problems, but before there were problems, there were issues.
Oh yeah,
and
definitely.
so and so when you get into a new relationship, that's one of the things you need to look for or look at. And in this case, it should start with you.
Exactly. And we were discussing self love. You were using memories. Oh, I don't know what that was. I hope you didn't move your leg.
Haven't at all.
Oh wow, don't sound good. That
I
don't
don't
really
know.
sound good. I hope if we
I,
have a technical problem here, it's on my particular side. It's not on our technician side on the other side. So if do everybody just hold on, we'll get back in if that does happen, or you might just only be able to hear us. Guys got a little problem on our side when it comes to our studio board. It's not acting right, but hey, I'm going to say it's going to go all the way through this time. So you're hearing that kind of sound in the background. We don't know what it is exactly as of yet. Reviving your memories will make you fall in love with yourself again, and that's one of the things that we're understanding, that you need to revive memories.
mm-hmm.
A lot of us in our relationships don't do that.
It's not me. Not I'm not touching anything.
A lot of
It's
us in our relationships, we don't do that. Don't look at old pictures from before. We don't necessarily in turn talk about stuff that we did
right.
before. We're so caught up in the everyday life, kids, job, church, things
Mm-hmm.
like that, clubbing, whatever, that we think nothing about what it took and what are the things that brought us together, and
Right.
use that as a way to always go back to bring memories to basically give you that energy and that feeling to fall in love
Mm-hmm.
again. I remember that old saying used to say that sometimes you have to date or do a date with that person the same
Mm-hmm.
way you did at the beginning to get them. You ever
Yes.
heard it before? Did I
Oh
say
yeah.
that wrong?
Well, it. You were on the right track of what
Mm.
the saying is. You got to do the same thing to get them. That the same thing you did to get somebody, you have to do it to keep them.
Exactly, exactly.
Yes.
And some of us in our relationships, we take our relationship for granted from the standpoint of, hey, I've been there, done that. I don't need to do this again.
And then there's that attitude of, um, why am I going to go backward?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
let's move forward and do something different. And then you do the different that is so different from what you started with. It. It's like somebody new. Like, who is this person?
I don't necessarily agree with you. I think there's nothing wrong with doing something new. I think the real deal, because a thriving relationship, we're always going to talk about doing something new, adding
Definitely.
something on. I think what you mean is many times in the relationship that are surviving, there's not anything being done, new or before.
Mm-hmm. And,
It's the same old, same old.
mm-hmm.
I'm the same, always the same, ain't gonna never change.
Yes.
And that's what usually happens in most of those
Well, that
relationships.
is true.
Yeah.
I was looking at, and I definitely agree with you on that.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at those people who try. It's all about, have the attitude of living in the moment,
Mm-hmm.
and that moment is like not touching on anything from the past.
Mm-hmm.
Where because you're not thinking about you're not looking back, you're not doing following in the Sankofa principle, you're not
Mm-hmm.
taking the good things from the past and bringing them forward.
Mm-hmm.
You're just, I'm in the moment and I feel like doing this, so come on, let's do this. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, where'd that come from?
Okay, I'm trying to ask myself, where did that come from? You just even bring it up. Where does that come from?
From something that
Something snapped.
yeah,
Okay.
see, I have a tendency to listen in on people's conversations.
Oh, really? Is that what it
I
is?
do.
Well, I think and know that there's nothing wrong, again, to look at those things from the past to help you move forward in the
Absolutely.
future. And you're right. On another side, meaning another side of the coin, is to look at those things in the past that you did.
Mm-hmm.
And if they were positive because you're learning from it, then try it again
Yeah.
and again and again.
Yes.
And then there's the other side of that coin, which is to try things that are new that you never did before, that you too do for the first time. And you create and make a memory
Mm-hmm.
at that particular present time to then sometime in the future look back at that one.
Right.
How's that one?
Very good.
Okay.
Perfect.
All righty now.
Yes.
So let's move on. Where we're talking about, what does self-love mean? What does self-love? Self-love and spiritually go hand in hand. When you grow your spiritual practice, meaning you go out of the way to do your spiritual stuff, you also are growing your self-love. That's right.
Mhm.
When you're doing spiritual practicing, whether it's praying, whether it's what's some other things you can think of?
Meditating,
Mm-hmm.
um, introspection,
Mm-hmm.
journaling,
Yes.
any of that.
You are doing a practice that deals with the inside.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other side is that self-love that has to do on the outside. The one that we
Yes.
mostly hear about, the self-love, how good you look,
Right.
keeping your body
Mhm.
image the way you want it to
Exactly.
be.
Spending time in the mirror and selfies, checking on
Well,
you.
that could be one. It
Yeah.
could
No, no,
be other things besides that. Making sure my
exactly.
fashion looks good, or have
Yes.
certain way clothes I have to look sharp in, things
Absolutely.
like that, shoes and stuff like that.
Right. And I'm not knocking the standing in the mirror and the selfies. I'm just
Her,
saying that's one way it
herbology too. I
manifests.
mean, there's a good channel. Excuse me, there's a good program. I don't know what it is. Hopefully next time around we'll try to say something about. Again, I was just talking about having our shows talk
Mhm.
about other shows on the HR would be a good thing to do too. And there's a young guy who is talking about herbology, and
Yeah.
he's very good at doing that. So there's that side that has to do with us trying to take care of ourselves physically. That's important.
Mm-hmm.
Where we're talking about the other side of the coin, that we're referring to on the spiritual side, that side of what are we doing and dealing with us in the inside,
Right.
dealing with our character,
Mm-hmm.
dealing with our essence of who we are.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And our purpose in life. What are we doing on that other side and in life? Because that is that spiritual practice that helps us to love us,
Mhm.
because that's who we are.
Right.
Our spirit goes to the machine, a child of God, whatever kind of terminology you want to use. That has to do with the inside thing.
Mhm.
So, what are we doing to deal with our inside? What are the being good to ourselves, learning to be comfortable, not only just when your skin, which is to love, honor, and accept who you are, the good and the bad parts.
Yes.
We are talking about that. That's the same thing that you could do by knowing who you are and learning who you are from the what? From the inside.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's the part that is not really focused on.
Mm-hmm.
But it is the most important part.
Yeah, it is. It is. We call it spiritual care. The definition of spiritual care is a ritual or practice that we do further our connections with our higher self. Where we're actually just doing something to connect with our higher self.
Yes.
Okay, which is important.
Some people sometimes do self-talk.
Mm-hmm.
Where they talk to themselves about principles or things that they're trying to do, or sometimes you talk yourself into the place that you need to be.
Or you talk yourself right out of it. No,
some people do, but that's not really self-care.
Well,
unless it's not
when
good
you
for
bring
the
up that
first place.
spiritual part that has to do with the inside, most people are not necessarily thinking about the inside as a matter for me to do when it comes to a relationship.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And from that particular end, what happens is it's hard for you to think that, well, when it comes to upgrading my relationship, when it comes to adding on my relationship, making it better, making it more healthy, I don't necessarily think about it on the inside. I'm
Mm-hmm.
mostly thinking about that using principles and theories that have to do with how I think on the outside.
Yeah, because a lot of times, most of the time, people think of the inside as being just for them.
Yes.
It's my personal space.
And very well, that personal space is your personal
Mm-hmm.
space. The only difference is you're in a relationship, and the key word is relationship. You're
Yes,
into relay.
team.
I use the first word, relay,
Relay.
pass on.
Yes, yes.
And she passes on or he passes on to you.
Mm-hmm.
So both of us are supposed to be trying to relay
Mm-hmm.
with one another back and
Exactly.
forth, or called sharing.
Right.
Okay. So if you are just sticking to just that one side of the coin of only being about being self-loving just for your own self, then what happens is you become like in a lot of relationship, a one-sided
Mm-hmm.
relationship. You're just concerned about you. It's
Yes.
mostly just self-centered in its
Mm-hmm.
own
Mm-hmm.
concept, and it's not looking at the other side that has to do with you.
Right.
And that other side, as you said last time, once you do the practices and put them things together, which we're talking more about it, it's like filling a cup up, and pretty soon it overflows.
Yes.
And it overflows over to your mate. It
Mm-hmm.
overflows to your children. It overflows to other people, that kind of love, because that's what
Which
love does.
exactly, and that is the essence of what you're trying to share.
Exactly, exactly. Hey, just take a little short plug for ourselves. You'll notice at the bottom we do on what, WRUU, every Saturday between 9 and 10 o'clock Eastern
In the
Standard
morning.
Time in the morning. You can get up and have coffee. You don't have to get out of your bed, or if you're on the road, and sit back and relax and listen to our program that we've been doing for the last 2 years over the radio.
Yes.
On WRUU 107.5. There's a link that's going across at the bottom that you could easily at the same time. I think it's this link to this one. Or maybe it's not. Oh, it is. Yeah, it
Yes,
is. It
it
is.
is.
And you could easily go to that show. I'm also putting up another link that has to do with our Taking the Journey website itself. We've got some new things up there we were talking about later on. And they have the Facebook site that you could actually go to if you want to. And I don't know how much we've been doing on the Instagram site, but any one of those sites, please go to. And if you've got any questions, any concerns, don't be afraid to speak up. No question is what does they say?
No. Well, they say there's no such thing as a stupid question,
Oh, okay.
but I will just like to say or rephrase that and
Mm-hmm.
say, we will consider every question that comes through.
All right, definitely. So let's get right into what we didn't do before.
Okay.
Spiritual love can be referred to a love rooted in spiritual connection that helps you find meaning and purpose in your life. Again, spiritual love or spiritual self care refers to a love rooted in a spiritual connection that helps you find meaning and purpose in our life. These spiritual loves can serve in different purposes. Some are meant to walk us through life, while others are meant to teach us lessons. And yes, these spiritual loves are people. I think about that there's that saying that some people are or there in your life to put a few footsteps. I think I'm saying that
Mm-hmm.
wrong, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's some people that have footsteps in your life that last a lifelong. I could be saying that wrong, but
Mm-hmm.
you kind of understand that that has to
Is that
do
the
with
one that people are in your life for a reason, a
she's
season, or a lifetime?
exactly.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's the same explanation
Exactly.
that is saying, and I think we need to understand that sometimes in life people are like that. Even when you come up with a committed relationship that has to do with marriage, it could be a period of time where there is a time where you two both grow apart. You don't seem to want to stick together or stuck together, whatever you may want to say. And what happens is people, eventually go their own separate way,
Right.
even when kids are involved. And
Mm-hmm.
you hope during that time, if that happens, that you don't forget the love that was presented by that other person, and
Right.
that you also felt when you're in that relationship, and don't then act or deny it as if it didn't exist just because things have happened to cloud it, to confuse it, or
Mm-hmm.
sometimes make it seem like it didn't exist when it
Right.
really did.
Yeah.
Okay, she still
Yes.
got something
I
in her
know.
throat.
It's.
You should have got some water.
I do. I have my lemon water over here, and I don't know what's going on.
Any questions? We got at least two people. Looks like it. Looking at. We're trying to get some more. Hopefully, make sure you share, and let other people know about our show. This time it is live, not recorded. So please make sure that you share, let other people know about this. Let's move right into the reviving of these
Yes, and
memories.
that's where last week we were talking about
Hmm.
um, looking back at old pictures and videos and sitting back and thinking.
Hmm.
And it's okay to say, "Do you remember when we did so and so?" Just out of the blue,
Yes.
and laugh about things and um, that's one of the ways that you know that you're having a full relationship, that it's not just a one-sided thing, especially when you can talk about it and relive it and enjoy it as much in the reliving as you did when you were actually going through it.
Yeah, exactly. I think we take a lot of pictures because I'm a photographer, so I just love taking pictures. She loves being in the pictures, by the way. But
Only when you're taking them, though.
well, I mean, but you do. I
Yeah,
love taking pictures of you. We don't always sit down enough to be able to look at the pictures too, because there are quite a
a
few of
few.
them.
Yes,
But when we do, it does actually revive the memories,
exactly.
and you could feel the same warmth. You can feel the same senses as it was when we were there and we
Hmm.
did those kind of
Yes,
real adventurous, exciting things together. Kind of brings back good memories,
it
doesn't it?
does. It
Yeah,
does,
yeah.
and that's one of those good places to be.
It might be something that if those who are listening, you may want to make that a once a month, twice a month thing.
Yes.
Yeah, seriously, because we're talking about again trying to bring that thriving, healthy relationship that has to do with that self love or spiritual love for the inside.
Hmm.
So this information you're getting is information, video information, audio information that's going to in turn move you from the inside, trigger your own memories to inside, and hopefully you want to use the positive ones too, by the way, and it will generate those imaginations
Yes.
that are very real, but bring them in the presence now.
Yes.
And you're going to feel good. Am I right?
You're definitely right. And I just thought about something.
What's that?
When we all have pictures on our phones.
Mm-hmm.
When we go to dinner and things like that, instead of being on your phone by
Uh-oh.
yourself,
I said I did something wrong.
uh-oh,
Mm.
instead of being on the phone, just doing your own thing on the phone,
Mm-hmm.
go into your gallery
Mm-hmm.
and pull up some pictures of something that you and your partner has done together
Mm-hmm.
and start talking about that over dinner.
Yeah, yeah, that's not too bad of an idea. Okay. So these kinds of foods for thought is building you up on the inside in your relationship as for us in your own self. And I just want to keep on going over that so that you understand that's
Hmm.
what we're doing right now. We're trying to push that balance side that many times in relationships we don't look at for ourselves and
Right.
for the other, which is what are we doing to make sure that we inside
Hmm.
are healthy, that we are balanced from the inside and knowing who we are and our purposes in life. What's another reviving of our memories that you can think of, Sharon?
Speak to your ancestors and angels.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Mm.
Not all steps to self love are personal development.
Uh-oh, there's that word we were talking about. Most personal
Hmm.
development has everything mostly to do on the outside.
Exactly.
Exercise, make sure I
Yes.
keep the exercise going. Make sure I eat right. Make sure I
Hmm.
take the right vitamins, eat the right food, which is important. But that's usually called part of that personal
Development.
development. Yes.
Yes.
And
Yes.
we're not saying that's wrong. And we're certainly not saying what we're talking about is not personal
Hmm.
development. It's just, again, like a coin, there's two sides.
Right.
The side that we're talking about on this coin when it comes to you as a being, as a person, is the spiritual side. What's going on
Hmm.
inside you, dealing with inside you.
And that two-sided coin is also like a metaphor for balance.
Exactly.
Yes. So get information from books and your elders and talk about signs, look into courses and intuitive readings and things of that sort. One of the things that can also help with self love is writing poetry.
Hmm. It sure is. It sure is. I think next time we're going to bring an offer two books that we have. Well, one, well, at least two I wrote, and one you wrote. Well, at least the two I wrote was on relationships,
Hmm.
and we'll let people get to take the opportunity to purchase it if they want to get it, and it's about relationships.
Both of them are.
Exactly, and
Hmm.
one of
And
them
one
is
is about, I'm sorry,
no. Go ahead.
one is about more personal growth. And
Yes.
sometimes you need that personal growth in order to get to a place where you can see or start to love yourself inside. Because sometimes, we have so many things that are bogging us down, so
Mm-hmm.
much guilt from this, that, or the other,
Mm-hmm.
so much, um, mental memories of negativity that people have thrown at you and it's stuck.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever said sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me, lied.
Okay.
Because words sometimes hurt harder and longer,
And deeper.
exactly, than sticks and stones.
They put, like some people say, holes in the fence. You could paint over the fence, but the holes are still in it until you do something to plug those holes.
Yeah.
And even when they're plugged, there's still holes there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are some things to think about. But that book, especially the one My Soul Says,
Mm-hmm.
has it not only does it speak to situations, but it also gives you the opportunity to write what it triggers in you, so you can start dealing with your inner issues.
Yeah, it was kind of like a workbook. Now that I remember that, you can write some things at the bottom, but we'll make sure we introduce that next time, and people get to see a chance, see the cover, and again, any donations that we get or any price that we get, we want to make sure that there will be a portion that will go to the ATR network to help this network be able to grow and show its appreciation for us being on the show. We're working on some sponsors even right now for some stuff that we're doing, and our taking the journey together so others can participate, and of course at the same time enjoy some of the places that we go.
Yep.
Or they can actually go to those places and enjoy it
Yes.
too at the same time. Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Spiritual growth it grows in leaps and bounds when you are in nature. Have you
Oh
noticed that?
gosh, yes, it
When
does.
you are in nature, it grows leaps and bounds. Just being in God's good nature has a way of having you contemplate to yourself, um, and concentrate on the beauty of nature that's all around you,
Mm-hmm.
and many times the calmness of not having all the noise of cars and people around you it does a heck of a lot.
Yes, it does.
I do remember one time when we were doing some camping stuff, and we brought a young brother by the name of Jamal out there, who's very well known. Everybody knows about him. He also was part of a board of Unity and Community, and we had him out there, and he was sitting in the chair talking to us, and he said, camping is not anything new for people of color. I said, what do you mean? He said, camping, well, it's not new for black folks. Now, what did he go on to say?
He went on to start talking about the Maroons, and
Yes, from Florida.
and you can't be around him without getting
Some kind of
knowledge.
history lesson.
Yes,
Our history lesson.
you are going to get a gem that you can keep with you, and that always keeps bringing itself back around. He is such a wealth of knowledge just waiting to be shared.
Exactly.
Which is also very welcoming, because there's so many people that know a lot,
Mm-hmm.
but they just want to keep it to themselves. And when they share it with you, it's shared on such a level that they understand it, you understand some of it, and they have it set up so that they keep the majority of it for themselves. But not Jamal. He shares it all.
Yeah, that's just another word called a gatekeeper.
Yes.
A gatekeeper. So I mean, he was talking about the Maroons, but he also was talking about, I mean, there were black folks who spent a lot of time in Florida, in those areas of where there's a lot of swamp water that basically plantations went on, because they escaped from plantations because they didn't want to live that life, and they created their own villages, if you may want to say, and lived there, and they were called the Maroons. It's a long story behind it. Some of them were sent to another island too, come to think of it. He'll probably be able to say more about it. But he did also say that he does remember being around some Africans that he knew of, and how they were in a same situation where there was forest and wilderness around, and they were saying it just looks like our country, places that we have in our country. And I'm thinking to myself, well, yeah, there's a lot of forest and trees and ponds and lakes in Africa. So yeah, the same thing we were looking at, the same thing that they would also see too. So
the world is not so different unless you have blinders on.
Exactly. So that again, nature has a lot to do with also bringing that self-love, that spiritual side, the other side of the coin, that's important. So she was talking about ancestors, and that not all steps to not are have to do with personal development, but getting information from books and your elders. We look at our ancestors and elders, our ancestors, and some folks say angels and other particular religious belief system, that for us they're like our elders.
Yes.
Some are alive
Mm-hmm.
or like our ancestors, and most of the time we will look at our ancestors to be the ones that what passed on,
Right.
who have died and passed away,
Exactly. Yes.
and we look at them as being a way of a spirit, or as we talked about before, the love, um, people who are loving wise, passing that love on to us
Right.
in our path.
Mm-hmm.
In the period of time they were with us, passing that love on in our path. Our mother and fathers had a certain period of time and they passed on.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But they were in our path for a certain period of time.
Mm-hmm.
So our ancestors, we still want to make sure we stay connected. So let me ask you something, because I'm just rambling right now. I feel like I am. Give me an example that you have brought up many times in this relationship that has to do with the ancestor that you have, and you will use words to basically bring back memories that have to do with how you feel or what you see that's going on in a relationship.
Well, my grandmother
Mm-hmm. What you call
was
your grandmother?
Nanny.
Yes.
Nanny has had this way with words, and she was filled with cliches and different little sayings, and she always had one for everything.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them were funny, some of them made no sense, and some of them you really didn't want her to ask what they meant, because she always had a response that either would make you laugh or make you wish you hadn't asked.
Mm-hmm.
And so and she had this almost dry sense of humor,
Okay.
but it always comes up. There are always situations that I can hear her voice in my head with one of these little quick remarks that she used to have.
Give us one. Come on. I know if she's talking to you right now. Give us an example of what your ancestor, what your grandmother, you called Nanny, would say. What would she say to you right now if she had a chance to hear you on this show? What would she say?
Um, wow, that's
You're connected to one of the many sayings. I told you should be keeping those sayings
I know.
and put them in a book and says, as Nanny says.
Yeah. Yes. Oh gosh, I there most of hers were like little different little things. Let's see, if she heard me on this now,
Mhm.
she probably wouldn't say much, because she was not a real talker. She was really kind of on the quiet side.
Okay, you're getting your way out of this.
No,
one.
I'm just saying, but she would smile.
Okay,
She would smile, and I could see her
I'm
smile.
trying to
right
get
now.
you to get a
Now,
saying.
but
Well,
okay.
every time I look around, you're popping a saying up in odd situations. So
because
now when I put you on the spot, you can find you got her
because-
scared too. She can't say
no,
anything to you.
because see, that's in the moment.
Mhm.
That's in the moment when they come up like that.
You can't think of a perfect moment right now.
Because most of hers were like, you know how people say you're smart Alec.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of like how she was.
Oh. Hey, what? Oh no, I can't say
Okay.
that one. Go ahead.
Because she would say things like, there was one that she used to say all the time when something was not too good. She would say, somebody looked like Dick did when his daddy died.
Okay.
And one day, I don't know what I was doing and what crossed my mind, but I had heard this all my life pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
So and so came through looking like Dick did when his daddy died. Now they could be just, not matching in their clothes,
Mhm.
or, whatever, just not quite together when
Mhm.
she would say that. And so one day I just said to her, I said, "So, Nanny, how do you look?" And she just turned and she looked at me and she said, "Sad." I was like, forget I asked. And I felt like she had waited a long time for me to ask her that, or for somebody to ask, just so she could say that one word.
instead of the other ones that she said so long.
Say that
Instead
again.
of the one was Dick Diggins and whatever that
No,
was.
somebody look. She would say so and so came through
Yeah, but
looking.
I would say that's in so many words, and one word said they're looking sad.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But it was she would say it for all kinds of things,
Oh,
and that's what she said.
yeah, that's what I
They
thought.
looked sad.
Okay.
It was a sad looking
So
situation.
it brought back good memories. I'm assuming you see her, you see
Yes.
her speak it, you
Yes.
remember the environment. So
Yes.
those are the things that we're talking about, where your ancestors would bring back good feelings, good
Mhm.
emotions that you
Yes.
remember from the past. I think of my grandmother, who was part Native American, and of course she was of course African American. A very tall, slender. Her hair was a little bit peppered. Even when she was 80 years old, she was doing yoga in a class that she was teaching in Florida. And I remember when I used to travel with her, by myself with her, she always was a very strong statured kind
Mhm.
of a woman. And any place we go, people would just kind of like stand up and almost stand straight, not slowly, but just looking at the energy that she put out. And I was always awed being around her.
You're right.
And I said to myself, well, when I grow up, I hope I have a nanny or a woman like that with that kind of energy and
Mhm.
statue that she puts out. And I remember one time we went to the Disneyland. Okay, I was taking my kids to Disneyland, and the cost of Disneyland then and even now, it's not cheap.
Yeah.
And so I was going in to bring the kids in. They had her with me, and I was doing something not at that time too spiritually well. In this
Not
case,
loving.
not too loving. I was like outside complaining about it. I don't want to pay this much. And now the kids came with me. We drove all the way down there, and I'm like, I don't want to pay this much. And yeah. And I was really hard fast about almost thinking about leaving. And then I thought in my head, maybe I should go ahead, because my grandmother seems to be so nice. And like all of us young folks, we think our grandparents have so much money. That's right, out there, young folks. I know you think grandparents have a whole bunch of money.
Nope.
Some of them do, but you may not get that from them for you. But anyway, I looked over at my grandma, kind of looking at her and asking, my own way, can I borrow some money? She looked at me and she said, now, Craig, you are not going to have this opportunity to ever, paraphrasing, to share this particular event with your children ever again. That's just how important this is, and it should be for you. Now, go ahead and pay for it and stop complaining.
See.
I'm like, oh, okay.
See. And there's nothing like the wisdom.
And I paid for it.
There's nothing like the wisdom of
Yes.
the elders to put things into perspective.
Exactly.
And still today, I can just, I don't necessarily have to hear their voice,
Mm-hmm.
but I can know what it's going to, what they would say, what they
Mhm.
would do, how they would stand.
Mm-hmm.
And, there are times when I can get that look that my mother used to give me. I can feel that look that she
Mhm.
used to give me when I was sitting in the car stand laughing
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because somebody in the car stand had made a joke. And she would give me this very stern look that said, you better straighten up. And there are times when I say or do something in this relationship,
Mm-hmm.
and I can just feel, I better straighten up.
Better straighten up and fly right.
Yeah, pretty
Straighten
much.
up and fly right. Well,
Pretty
it didn't.
much.
It is, again, good or bad, as we talked about before. Spiritual love, like the other side of love, personal development, is going to not always make you feel good,
Right.
because it could be something about being brought up of a characteristic of yours
Mhm.
that is a shadow or negative or low energy or whatever you may want to call it, that's keeping you from being real loving and caring to yourself, let alone your mate in the relationship.
Yes.
And so that correction that was there for me at that time from my grandmother had everything to do with the fact that I wasn't paying to the attention of the purpose of being that father who loved him, drove him all that way.
Mhm.
And then at the end of it, I was going to allow money to stop me from doing it.
Exactly.
Really?
exactly.
I mean, I
And
had the
and
money.
not
It
in
was a mindset
mm-hmm,
that she had from an inside.
mm-hmm,
That had to correct me, a
yeah,
stinginess kind of mindset
yeah,
that in turn she had to correct me and had to give me the perception, well, give me really the understanding that there was a bigger picture than all
mm-hmm.
this, and that material thing really can't be what you might as well say can't buy
Yeah.
love. I mean,
Because
not at that time.
think about the disappointment that everybody would have
Yeah,
experienced,
yeah. Well, I
you
don't know
know.
how much to remember it now, but yeah.
But it doesn't matter at that point, you
Uh
know.
huh.
And I bet they do
Mm-hmm.
because even today there
Mm-hmm.
are, and this baffles me to no
Mm-hmm.
end. There are some kids that um my son went to school with. He's still in connection, in contact with a lot of his past
Mm-hmm.
students, and some of the kids from his elementary school, when I
Mm-hmm.
used to go to his classroom and work with the kids and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
they still ask him about me, and they remember me coming to work in the classroom.
Really.
And some of them, and he'll say, "Mom, you remember so and so?" And I'm like, "Nope," you know,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't.
Mm-hmm.
But they remember me from that. It's the little things that you do. It's those little pieces of love that you give out sometimes that make all the difference in a person's life, and you never know where they are. But if they are somebody that you're in relationship with, you need to know where they are and know when to give those little pieces of love out.
Now, excuse that sound out that's happening. My computer's going crazy. Why it's going crazy, I don't really know. But hopefully next time around we'll be able to have it solved so that you won't have to hear all that noise from that end. But you said something that I hope people really listen to and really didn't take for granted because it's such it's such a already included in your connection to your parents and your family, and you're blessed to still have that connection with your family where I really don't have that, where this kind of very thing is naturally and organically put in there to help be a motivation, help to be an uplift to you, that kind of unconditional love that that family will actually present in the relationship to you as a connection, as a being, helps you out when it comes to that other side of the coin of self-love and inside.
Mm-hmm.
They will many times love you when inside of you feel like I ain't worth anything.
Right.
And yet they still will present that love to you. And if you take advantage of it, it will be a good insight, a good seed being dropped to you that said, well, I can be loving. There's
Mm-hmm.
something about me that's worthwhile to be loving. And that may take you down the adventure, take you down the track, take you down the voyage, if you may want to say, of journey, I should say, better words,
Right.
to finding out, well, what is it about in me
Mm-hmm.
that I don't know about that is loving for someone else to look at, someone else to see. Now
Right.
that's right. Sometimes you have to look in the mirror at someone else
Mm-hmm.
that reflects to you
Exactly.
that which you don't have because you don't see it, but yet it's in you.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully in your relationship, your mate is that reflection that she's
Exactly.
able to bring out of you those things that in turn you don't see in yourself. And in turn, it could be brought out through their sharing that love for
Mm-hmm.
you, that self love that they have is that same kind of self love as you talked about before. It's a cup that pours out onto that other particular person, and they're able to see, oh, wow. Like for me, I don't have that much patience as I should. And one thing is for sure, when something goes over and over and over again, it could pile up, and then pretty soon it's like the haystack, the
The
bricks.
straw that broke the camel's back,
Exactly.
or
Don't tell all secrets.
the last the last little drop of pressure in a volcano.
Exactly, exactly. Well, ain't no drops in volcanoes. There's a lot of stuff underneath. It just breaks to the top.
That's my point.
So, in your, it's not like you're not a person that doesn't have anger because you do.
Oh yeah.
It's not like you're a person that doesn't have resentment and all that stuff because you do it
Mm-hmm.
at lower level than I. But your ability to be able to hold it in, to shift it in other directions, or just sometimes just swallow it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or some people say compartmentalize
Compartmentalize
it.
it.
Yeah, better.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely much better than me, where I'm more of a person that kind of just lets it out. Not all hang out. I'm pretty calculating in what I say. So sometimes when you hear me say something, you can know I've thought about it, I researched it, and it's going to come out, and I'm going to let it be known in that calculating kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing is for sure, your patience is much more longer than me. And patience is not really a virtue of mine. I know it's a virtue of you. Talking about an inside
Hmm.
thing, inside energy is definitely part of what you have.
Yeah.
And I love you for that. I
and
really do.
and it's one of those things
You
you
have patience with me.
exactly, but
Mhm.
you can't teach patience to a person, but what you can do is be the example
Okay.
of
Okay.
what it
You see, I
is.
mean, some old dogs can learn new tricks.
Exactly, all of them can.
I think so too.
And because and the easiest representation of that is get an old dog
Oh,
and then change its name
oh,
and
okay.
see how quickly it it learns its new name.
Okay.
So
I don't know anything about those who have had dogs out there and trained them. Maybe you know about that because I don't know, but that's a new trick.
it
And I
happens.
thought tricks were for kids.
Silly rabbit.
Oh, she got me. Oh, hey, let's go and talk about our buttons. I'm gonna take this down real quickly, so they can maybe see it and better. Go ahead and pull up a button. I'm gonna
I'm going
pull
this
up
way.
real quickly. What I was going to do is put on the bottom about but where they can get it from, and then I'm going to pull up a picture if I can find it here. Yeah, here's a picture of our button. Yes, this is all about you being proud. Does it come across at the bottom real soon? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it should come across real soon.
yeah, there
Coming
it
back
is.
around scrolling,
Yes.
where you should be proud of wearing a hot button. Got to purchase it first, and show the world just how much you care about being honest, open, and transparent in your relationship.
Are you still hot?
Yeah, exactly. So when you're out and around and people see your hot button, it gives you a chance to tell them how hot your relationship is and how hot, I must let that out. How hot you feel that you are. And of course, it's going to definitely have people want to talk to you as a conversation piece because they don't even know what hot means. And when they do, you can let them know what it really means when it comes to a thriving and healthy relationship. It's only $5 in turn. Some of the part of the money is going towards ATR, this particular network, to help them out and move things forward and pay all the bills that need to be paid to at the same time. So if you go to our website address, which you see it here, takingthejourney.com, you should be able to see that and be able to pay for it. So hey, please make sure you go that direction. We'd love to have you have one, and maybe we can see you locally around with them all. What do you think, Sherry?
Yeah, that'd be so neat to run into somebody who's wearing a button, and we are wearing ours all the time, and just to run into somebody that has one on too and say, "So you're hot too." Yeah.
Yeah,
Can you
yeah.
imagine the conversation or the looks that you would get from other people who have no idea what they're talking
Yeah,
being
yeah.
talked about?
We
But that would start another conversation with some other people.
we got nobody. Nobody at this time who's put anything out as for post. I hope our show is still being touched and being moved by people. I mean, we really like the show. We want to make sure you say something, and whether it's to the station or you post for other people. Excuse me, you post here. I'm only saying it because we usually have one guy that is here all the time. Then we have a new person that came by. I don't know who they are,
Yeah.
but we haven't heard anything yet.
Well, maybe they are tied up tonight and they will pick it up on the rerun
We hope
and
so,
keep up with
because
us.
we try to be live every Thursday at 6 o'clock,
Yes.
and then or the station has what is it? The repeats.
Yes.
We got to come back again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is a great thing. And I like that fact because um, no matter when people have some free time, because people seem to be busy all the time, they can still catch it. Maybe can't comment, but they can catch it.
Well, they can YouTube right there, 18 ATR Black Network. You can catch it other particular times. I think they show that you can get it on YouTube. I think YouTube is one of the places
Yes.
that you can get it to. And pick it up and
Facebook.
watch. Okay, so we're getting down to the nitty gritty here. We got about another 4 minutes, maybe another 4 minutes. Um, do you want to? Because we got at least three more ways that we can talk about when it comes to that spiritual side of spiritual self love.
Mhm.
On that side of the coin, we almost talked to death to a certain extent about the ancestors and the angels and the different experiences that we have given
Yes.
our examples of our relatives. I mean, there's many books. I think next time we're going to kind of bring in some books and let them know some books that they can read that have to do with
Self-love.
intuition and self-love.
And that's so important. And, and it's one of those things that I have to say, and this just kind of popped on me to say right now. I have been guilty of taking self-love for granted. It's been one of those things that, well, I'm feeling pretty good with me on the inside. You should be feeling pretty good about you on the inside. But that's not always the case. You can't keep it all to yourself. Love is something to be shared. That's why it's an action word. You've got to do something with that love that you have. You can't just hoard it, because then it stops being what it's meant to be. And so since we've been looking at self-love and paying close attention to it and getting an understanding and deliberately moving in self-love, it has opened me up so much more to be me. I feel like there is a lot of release that has come so that I can be more forthcoming to you. I was thinking I was hot. I'm really moving in hot now.
Wow. The self-love that's on the spiritual side does give it so that you are more transparent. You are more clear. You get more clarity of the connection to who you really are in the inside. Now, there are some personality tests that you can take. There's many Briars and what was that one? Briars and something. Tests that you can get out there that can give you insight on your characteristics, outside characteristics, personal characteristics, how you relate to people. No doubt about it. But it could be something that came from the past, came from your mom and dad, came from how you hang around in your community, how you in turn were copying off of your friends through peer pressures. We're not talking so much about that. We're talking about the enlightenment that comes from connecting to who you are from the inside. And there are ways that we're talking about that will help you out. And with that, it will help you be much more clear about your purpose in life.
Right.
And with that self-love being purpose in life, you have a much better thriving relationship, instead of having it in such a way where you're saying, what am I in this relationship for? Why am I even here? I ain't getting nothing really out of it whatsoever. And looks like neither is she or he ain't getting anything out of it.
And that's when you start looking for alternatives. But before you start looking for alternatives,
that usually happens.
Look inside and see what needs to be fixed right there.
Or if you need to, hey, there's nothing wrong going to a counselor, a family counselor, a relationship family counselor, a marriage counselor. Hopefully, if you have a pastor that's very sensitive to this area, you can always go and talk to them. Do what you can to build you on that spiritual side before you say, hey, we're going to call quits on this. We're not going to do this anymore. We just can't work anymore. Please do that before you do that. That's all part of self-care. That's all part of maintenance. That's what you would do when you got things that you really care about. You just don't necessarily throw them away, even though we're part of a throwaway society. You don't necessarily do it. You want to keep it. You want to cherish it. Do that same thing with your relationship. It deserves that. You deserve that too at the same time. Okay, Mr. Engineer, I think we're close to the time to let this go. We're going to give it all back to you.
Until next time.
Thank you.